In the heart of winter, my everyday commute turned into a chilling nightmare. My name is Claire, a woman of routine and predictability. Each morning, I would kiss my husband goodbye, buckle our young daughter into the car, and embark on the familiar journey to the local school and then to my office. This particular day, the world was a winter wonderland. The sky was a somber gray, heavy with snow yet to fall. The ground was blanketed in a thick layer of frost and ice, shimmering under the weak winter sun. It was a beautiful sight, yet held an undercurrent of danger as I navigated the icy roads, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I felt a sense of unease. The weather had been harsh, but this was different. This was treacherous. With a sudden jolt, my worst fears were realized. The car skidded, veering off the road and tumbling into a ditch. When I regained consciousness, I was in an unfamiliar room. The air was thick with the musty scent of old wood and damp earth. I tried the door, only it locked from the outside. Panic began to creep in, gripping my heart with icy fingers. The room was dimly lit, allowing the shadows to dance and morph into unnerving figures. The bitter cold seeped in through the cracks in the walls, wrapping me in its icy grasp. But I was not alone. There was an unsettling presence nearby. The person who had brought me here, I presumed. As I lay there, trapped in this shadow-filled room, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Something was off. The walls felt too close, the silence too loud. I was trapped, my dread consuming me. In a desperate attempt, I picked up a heavy, rusted candle stand and hurled it at the window. The glass shattered, splinters flying everywhere as an icy gust swept in. I climbed through the broken window, cutting myself in the process, but I didn't care. All I could think of was escaping. I stumbled out onto a nearby road, my breath coming out in short, ragged gasps as I looked around for signs of help. As I stood there, alone and scared, I started to question if I had been saved or, in fact, imprisoned. Suddenly, everything went quiet. My heart pounded in my chest, the only sound in the deafening silence. The world seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for something to shatter the quiet. But nothing came. An eerie calm hung in the air, the silence so profound it was almost tangible. I was alone, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me, lurking in the shadows. Each second felt like an eternity as I waited, my breath hitching in my throat. The quiet was deafening, a stark contrast to the chaos that had ensued just moments before. Imagine waking up to find mysterious footprints in the snow leading to my backyard. This is precisely what happened to me one early winter morning. In the quiet hush of dawn, I awoke to a sight that sent chills down my spine. As the first rays of sunlight illuminated the snow-covered landscape, I noticed something unusual. There was a line of footprints, untouched and fresh, leading from my house to the dense woods at the edge of my property, a path that wasn't there the night before. At first, I was simply puzzled. Who could have been wandering around my property in the dead of night? A neighbor? A lost hiker? My mind raced through the possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. The footprints were too large to belong to an animal, and too deep to be a trick of the light. Filled with curiosity mingled with AI of unease, I decided to follow the trail. I pulled on my boots, wrapped myself in my warmest coat, and with a deep breath embarked on a journey that would take me beyond the familiar confines of my backyard and into the unknown. As I ventured deeper into the woods, the footprints continued, unbroken and eerily precise. The snow was untouched except for these footprints, as if the world had held its breath in anticipation of this very moment. The trees loomed ominously overhead, their bare branches reaching out like skeletal fingers against the winter sky. My heart pounded in chest as I stumbled upon a sight that made my blood run cold. Half buried in the snow was a strange object. It was metallic, glinting in the morning light, and unlike anything I had ever seen. It was as if it had fallen from the sky, a relic from another world. The footprints circled the object, then continued deeper into the woods. It was clear now that this was not the work of a lost hiker or a curious neighbor. Something else was at play here. As I pressed on, the forest seemed to close in around me. The footprints, once so clearly defined, began to fade until they were barely visible. A sense of dread filled the air. The silence of the woods was only punctuated by the crunch of snow beneath my boots and the ragged rhythm of my breath. And then, just as suddenly as they had appeared, the footprints ended. I stood there, in the heart of the woods, staring at the last imprint in the snow, my mind whirling with unanswered questions. Who or what had left these footprints? What was the strange object? And most importantly, where did the footprints lead? As I stood on the edge of the woods, the footprints mysteriously ended, leaving me with more questions than answers. As I stood there, my mind racing with unanswerable questions, a profound silence fell over the woods. It was as if nature itself was holding its breath, waiting for something or someone to break the silence. The footprints had ended, leaving me alone in the heart of the woods, surrounded by the cold, unfeeling trees. I looked around, my eyes straining in the dim light, but saw nothing. The wind had stopped, and the snow had stopped falling. The only sound was the steady thump of my heart in my chest, a lonely drumbeat in the silence. Then, without warning, everything went black. The morning light disappeared, swallowed by an unseen force. I was plunged into darkness, the cold seeping into my bones. I could see nothing, hear nothing, feel nothing but the icy chill of fear. For a few long seconds, the world ceased to exist. It was just me, alone in the darkness, my thoughts my only company. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the eerie, unsettling events of the morning. I felt a chill run down my spine, a sense of unease settling in my stomach. I was alone, utterly and completely alone. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, the darkness lifted. The morning light returned, the trees once again casting long, eerie shadows. I blinked, my eyes struggling to adjust to the sudden change. But as my vision cleared, I realized something had changed. The footprints, once so clear and defined, had vanished. They were gone, as if they had never been there at all. I was left standing in the heart of the woods, alone and confused, with nothing but the cold, unfeeling trees for company. The silence returned, a haunting reminder of the unknown. The footprints had ended, but my journey had just begun. With each crunch of winter snow under my boots, my friend and I set out on a hike, unaware of the grotesque scenes that awaited us. Let's call us the two daredevils, Jake and Ethan. The invigorating winter air filled our lungs. The crunch of fresh snow under our boots provided the rhythm to our journey. Snow-capped trees painted the canvas of our splendid day. Our hearty laughter echoed throughout the hushed woods, our a warm glow amidst the biting winter wind. As we delved deeper into the forest, an eerie silence unfolded. The usual sounds of rustling animals and birds that formed nature's orchestra were replaced by the chilling whistle of the wind. That's when we discovered the first sign of disturbance. A tiny bird, brutally torn apart, dangled from wind-rustled branches. A look of bewilderment replaced the mirth on Jake's and my face. We decided to move on, hoping it was a simple act of nature. Yet, as we pushed further, the scenes grew more horrific. Rabbits, squirrels, even a deer, all had met the same dreadful end. Their bodies, grotesquely disfigured, were displayed like grim trophies. The once pristine snow was stained with splashes of crimson, forming a stark contrast. With every crunching step, the atmosphere thickened. The silence of the woods was amplified by the wind in our ears. Our initial excitement was replaced by a rising sense of fear. The beautiful winter scene had morphed into a spine-chilling panorama of death. When we stumbled upon the most horrifying sight yet, a once majestic bear, now pitifully mutilated, we felt it. A potent sense of being observed, the wind carrying the ominous warning. Our instincts screamed at us to run, and so we did. The once familiar path became a terrifying maze, our footprints swiftly covered snow. The echo of a menacing growl and the crunch of snow under unknown footsteps were our only remnants. Fear became a visceral presence, gnawing at our sanity, pushing us to our limits. Wheezing and on the verge of collapse, we didn't dare stop. Eventually we saw it, the edge of the forest, a symbol of safety. With our last bit of energy, we broke free, stumbling out of the icy woods and into the open. As we emerged, the haunting memory of our gruesome encounter lingered, serving as a stark reminder of the unseen dangers lurking in the wilderness. 3 tales of ordinary winter days turned into chilling encounters with the unknown, reminding me that fear often hides beneath the blanket of the familiar. The icy slide, my worst nightmare, waking up in a stranger's home after a car crash. The footprints leading from my home to the mysterious woods, stirring up a sense of dread and suspense within me. And finally, my horror as a hiker, a gruesome discovery of animals savagely torn apart, turning a familiar trail into a scene of terror. These take me on a journey from the mundane into the realm of the chillingly extraordinary. They evoke a sense of dread in me, a shiver of suspense and a chilling realization that danger can lurk anywhere, even in the most familiar of places. The snow, so often associated with purity, can become a canvas for my darkest fears. As the snow falls and covers the world in a blanket of white, I remember these tales and the whispers of fear they carry. For in the heart of winter, the familiar can suddenly become frightfully strange for me.